feel really connected to everything that's known in their life. People wake up in the morning, they begin to think about their problems. Those problems are circuits of memories in the brain. Each one of those memories are connected to people and things at certain times and places. And if the brain is a record of the past, the moment they start their day, they're already thinking in the past. Each one of those memories has an emotion. Emotions are the end product of past experiences. So the moment they recall those memories of their problems, they all of a sudden feel unhappy, they feel sad, they feel pain. Now, how you think and how you feel creates your state of being. So the person's entire state of being when they start their day is in the past. So what does that mean? The familiar past will sooner or later be predictable future. If you believe that your thoughts have something to do with your destiny, and you can't think greater than how you feel, or feelings have become the means of thinking, by very definition of emotions, you're thinking in the past. And for the most part, you're going to keep creating the same life. So then people grab their cell phone, they check their WhatsApp, they check their text, they check their emails, they check Facebook, they take a picture of their feet, they post it on Facebook, they tweet something, they do Instagram, they check the news, and now they feel really connected to everything that's known in their life. And then they go through a series of routine behaviors. They get out of bed on the same side, they go to the toilet, they get a cup of coffee, they take a shower, they get dressed, they drive to work the same way, they do the same things, they see the same people, they push the same emotional buttons, and that becomes the routine, and it becomes like a program. So now they've lost their free will to a program, and there's no unseen hand doing it to them. So when it comes time to change, the redundancy of that cycle becomes a subconscious program. Now, 95% of who we are by the time we're 35 years old is a memorized set of behaviors, emotional reactions, unconscious habits, hardwired attitudes, beliefs, and perceptions that function like a computer program. So then a person can say with their 5% of their conscious mind, I want to be healthy, I want to be happy, I want to be free. But the body's on a whole different program. So then how do you begin to make those changes? Well, you have to get beyond the analytical mind, because what separates the conscious mind from the subconscious mind is the analytical mind. And that's where meditation comes in, because you can teach people through practice how to change their brainwaves, slow them down. And when they do that properly, they do enter the operating system where they can begin to make some really important changes. The stronger the emotional reaction you have to some experience in your life, the higher the emotional quotient, the more you pay attention to the cause. The moment the brain puts all of its attention on the cause, it takes a snapshot. That's called a memory. So long-term memories are created in very highly emotional experiences. What happens then is that people think neurologically within the circuitry of that experience, and they feel chemically within the boundaries of those emotions. And so when you have an emotional reaction to someone or something, most people think that they can't control their emotional reaction. Well, it turns out if you allow that emotional reaction, it's called a refractory period, to last for hours or days, that's called a mood. Say to someone, hey, what's up? So I'm in a mood. Well, why are you in a mood? Well, I had this thing happen to me 5 days ago, and I'm having one long emotional reaction. If you keep that same emotional reaction going on for weeks or months, that's called temperament. Why is he so bitter? I don't know. Let's ask him. Why is he so bitter? Why are you bitter? Well, I had this thing happen to me 9 months ago. And if you keep that same emotional reaction going on for years on end, that's called a personality trait. People, when they have an event, what they do is they keep recalling the event, because the emotions of stress hormones, the survival emotions, are saying, pay attention to what happened, because you want to be prepared if it happens again. Turns out most people spend 70% of their life living in survival and living in stress. So they're always anticipating the worst case scenario based on a past experience. And they're literally, out of the infinite potentials in the quantum field, they're selecting the worst possible outcome, and they're beginning to emotionally embrace it with fear. And they're conditioning their body into a state of fear. Do that enough times, body has a panic attack without you. You can't even predict it, because it's programmed subconsciously. You say to the person, why are you this way? And they'll say, I am this way because of this event that happened to me 15 or 20 years ago. And what that means from a biological standpoint is that they haven't been able to change since that event. So then the emotions from the experience tend to give the body and the brain a rush of energy. So people become addicted to the rush of those emotions, and they use the problems and conditions in their life to reaffirm their limitation, so at least they can feel something. So now when it comes time to change, you say to the person, why are you this way? Well, every time they recall the event, they're producing the same chemistry in their brain and body as if the event is occurring, firing and wiring the same circuits and sending the same emotional signature to the body. What's the relevance behind that? Well, your body is the unconscious mind. It doesn't know the difference between the experience that's creating the emotion and the emotion that you're creating by thought alone. So the body's believing is living in the same past experience 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And so then when those emotions influence certain thoughts, and they do, and then those thoughts create the same emotions, and those same emotions influence the same thoughts, now the entire person's state of being is in the past. The hardest part about change is not making the same choice as you did the day before, period. And the moment you decide to make a different choice, get ready, because it's going to feel uncomfortable. When it comes time to change, the person steps into that river of change and they make a different choice, and all of a sudden they don't feel the same way. So the body says, well, you've been doing this for 35 years. You're going to just stop suffering and stop feeling guilty and stop feeling shameful, and you're not going to complain or blame or make excuses or feel sorry for yourself. Well, the body's in the unknown. So the body says, I want to return back to familiar territory. So the body starts influencing the mind, and it says, start tomorrow. You're too much like your mother. You'll never change. This isn't going to work for you. This doesn't feel right. And so if you respond to that thought as if it's true, that same thought will lead to the same choice, which will lead to the same behavior, which will create the same experience, which will produce the same emotion. What thoughts do you want to fire and wire in your brain? What behaviors do you want to demonstrate in one day? The act of rehearsing them mentally, closing your eyes, and rehearsing the action. If you're truly present, the brain does not know the difference between what you're imaging and what you're experiencing in 3D world. So then you begin to install the neurological hardware in your brain to look like the event has already occurred. Now, your brain is no longer a record of the past. Now it's a map to the future. And if you keep doing it, priming it that way, the hardware becomes a software program. And who knows, you just may start acting like a happy person. The moment you start feeling abundant and worthy, you are generating wealth. The moment you're empowered and feel it, you're beginning to step towards your success. The moment you start feeling whole, your healing begins. And when you love yourself and you love all of life, you'll create an equal. Now you're causing an effect. And I think that's the difference between living as a victim in your world, saying, I am this way because of this person or that thing or this experience. They made me think and feel this way. When you switch that around, you become a creator of your world. And you start saying, my thinking and my feeling is changing an outcome in my life. And now that's a whole different game. And we start believing more that we're creators of reality. If you're not being defined by a vision of the future, then you're left with the old memories of the past, and you will be predictable in your life. And if you wake up in the morning and you're not being defined.
What's up, guys? We'll get started here in another minute or two. If you take a second and share this call with one other person, I would be extremely grateful for that. We want to get this information to as many people as possible. This is a turning point in our lives, this December month right before the start of 2023, and we want to expedite our growth by starting earlier than the average person. We want to be the 5%, not the 95%. So let's get this out to other people. Bless you guys, and we'll get started here soon.
If you're not being defined by a vision of the future, then you're left with the old memories of the past, and you will be predictable in your life. And if you wake up in the morning and you're not being defined by a vision of the future, as you see the same people and you go to the same places and you do the exact same thing at the exact same time, it's no longer that your personality is creating your personal reality. Now your personal reality is affecting or creating your personality. Your environment is really controlling how you think and feel unconsciously, because every person, everything, every place, every experience has a neurological network in your brain. Every experience that you have with every person produces an emotion. So to change them is to be greater than your environment, to be greater than the conditions in your world. And the environment is that seductive.
And you will be able to add to that list, absolutely guaranteed. Do this every morning and every night, and you will have an astonishing recovery from this advanced case of stinking thinking. Now, I didn't say that to her, but I'm saying it to you. That's what it was. It was an advanced case of stinking thinking. Well, 6 weeks later, I was back in Birmingham, Alabama. I was doing a follow-up sales seminar. Now, the lady was not in sales, but she'd been listening to my tapes. She'd been listening to Automobile University, and she had discovered that everybody sells. Everybody who will ever hear this is in selling. Whether you're a school teacher, a civil service worker, a military personnel, an executive secretary, it doesn't make any difference. What you do, you sell every day of your life. There she was at the sales seminar, seated on the front row. Goodness, so wide she could have eaten a banana sideways. I'm telling you, you're talking about somebody that was excited. She was turned on. I said, well, how you done? She grinned even more broadly and said, Mr. Ziegler, I'm doing wonderfully well. And thank you for asking. She said, you cannot believe how much those people down there have changed. I got to lay it on the line, folks. You're not going to change anybody else if you change you. Everything really does begin with you. Now, you see, the unfortunate thing, this lady had been raised in a very negative environment. First, her parents had told her that she'd never amount to anything. They said, you know, you're always late, you're always sloppy. Why can't you be like your brother or your sister or whatever? When she got married, her husband had continued it. And so her self-talk had become completely negative. Everything that she said about herself was negative. Like Dad said, I'll never amount to anything. Or like my husband says, I can't do anything right. But when she started changing the input, then some radical changes took place.
What is up, guys? How we doing? Happy Sunday. Happy start of a new week. This is our first call before December starts. So I would love to talk about how we can catapult our development from December into January. Most people like to start their New Year's resolutions on January. And the problem with starting in January is that December is full of distractions. So many distractions in December. And we want to make sure that we do not get distracted in December, because a lot of people like to take December off. They really do. And especially in this business, it is so important for us as a team, as a community, as individuals, to develop ourselves earlier on. Because if we take December off, we're starting January off fresh. We want to make sure that we don't have that happen, right? We want to make sure that we take December and we utilize it. We catapult our development into the start of January, because if we cut all our habits out in December, if we cut everything that we have been developing this whole year out in December, in those last couple weeks where everybody kind of takes time with their families, which is, and I'm not doubting, and I'm not against spending time with your families. That's not kind of what this call is about. I love spending time with my families. I actually moved back home recently. I'm in the basement of my parents' house. I'm here spending time with family, right? Because family is so important. But we don't want to hinder our development, hinder our growth by focusing on too much time with others, right? Because yes, spending time with others is important. Spending time with family is important, but it's also important to block that time out. We still need to spend a couple hours a day on ourselves, developing and growing ourselves, okay? Because it's so important. Last year I took December off and I didn't catch my groove till March because, in past years, and I'm sure people have this issue where um, December becomes that time where they kind of pull off the gas pedal, right? They put on the brakes and they chill. Okay. And I did that last year and it really negatively affected the beginning of 2022. So we want to make sure that we are pushing ourselves all through December. And that's really what this call is about. And that's kind of a little intro for what we're going to be talking about today. I really do like to start my calls off with some gratitude because gratitude is the highest vibrational feeling, emotion, thought, action, everything that we can do, everything that we want. We need to first be grateful for what we have currently. Okay. It's so helpful to start out with gratitude. So if you guys, the people that are on this call, send a little comment in the chat of what you are grateful for. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm grateful for family. And this will give you guys a moment to type something out yourself as well. And then we'll get on to the lesson. All right. I hope everyone's having a great Sunday. And we're gonna really dive in today and really get those skills honed in so that December can be the start of our 2023. Grateful for family, grateful for the team, and I am grateful for my dog, River. Love it. Love it, young 22. All good. All good. Having grateful to be aware of being aware. I love it. Being aware is one thing, but being aware that you are aware is the next level type of awareness. And it's so amazing to have that type of awareness, right? Because we have two people inside of us. We have the unconscious person who is constantly doing the same habits, developing the same habits that we've had our entire lives. And then there's the second person who is the aware person of the aware, which then has the ability to be aware of those unconscious habits, mark them, realize them, and then change them. And that's really where the development starts out. Okay, so thank you guys for posting a little gratitude. I love it. I love it. Grateful to be here in the present moment. Being in the present moment is so important. I love that, Kenneth. That's so good. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Young 22. I'm not exactly sure what your real name is, but we're going to call you Young 22 because maybe that's your nickname. Let's go. All right. So I'm thankful for you, my man. I appreciate you for sure. Yes. Growth and advancement, super important. And I'm so grateful for you, Kenneth. I'm so happy that you guys get value from these calls. I'm so excited and so blessed and so grateful that these calls are going to go from 5 to 20 to 30 to 40 to 100 to 200 to 300. And we're just going to grow. We're going to go crazy. Yes, sir. Call you 22. All right, sick. 22. Thank you, boy. I appreciate you. Okay, so today we're going to talk about how we can develop our habits, reflect on the year that we just had, and then move forward to correct those mistakes that we made and then grow into a higher form of ourselves. Okay. And it's really important for us to understand that, yes, starting new habits is important. Yes, Planning the next year is really important. Finding new things that we can put into our repertoire, put into our daily routines that can push us to a higher version of our current selves, because that's really why we're here, right? We're really here so that we can, maybe it's create generational wealth. Maybe it's maybe it's to just pay off your bills. Maybe it's so that you don't have to work for that crappy boss that you have right now. Maybe that's what it is. Whatever your purpose is, whatever your why is, we're all on the same path. We're just on different lanes, right? If you look at a track course that goes around a football field, right? There's 8 lanes. There's 8 lanes that go across, and everybody, when you're running the 100, when you're running the 200, the 500, or I mean the 400, the 800, maybe not so much the 800, more just the 1, 2, and 4, because you have to stay in your lane, right? It's not so much that you have to look at what other people are doing. You just got to look at yourself and how much progress you're getting, right? So we really need to make sure that we're focusing on ourselves and our own habits and not trying to be somebody else. We don't want to look at somebody else that has been doing this for 5 years and then adopt their habits, right? Because that was a habit that they have currently after 5 years of compounding growth. So it's really important that we look at ourselves as opposed to looking at others, because other people, if I were to compare myself to Mark Cuban, like I would just be down in the dumps for days, right? Because it's so important that we are focused on our own growth and not the growth of others, right? Because everybody comes from different backgrounds. Everybody starts off on a different level when they begin, right? Like Mark Cuban, I don't know his story too much, but he's a very wealthy man. He's on Shark Tank. He's investing in people all day long. But why I would never compare myself to him, because he's like 30 years my senior, 20 years my senior, right? But it's not so much the age. Age doesn't really matter, because people like Abraham Lincoln, right? Nobody knew who Abraham Lincoln was until he was well into his 40s. And then he became the man for like he changed everything in terms of being a leader in the country and what he was able to do, right? He changed so many things for so many lives simply because he had a point of view and he pushed it, and he made sure that everybody knew his point of view. But nobody knew anything about him until he was well into his 40s. So there are people that start and they become millionaires at 20. There are people that become millionaires at 80, right? We don't want to talk about age as much as we want to look inward and focus on ourselves and focus on what we can do to become better than we were yesterday, become better than we were last year, last month, last week. It's all about the journey. Exactly, Ty. It's all about the journey. And so many people are so focused on, when I get this, I'm going to be this. Like when I get this promotion, I'm going to be happy. When I get this new job, I'm going to do this. When I start to make more money, I'm going to start traveling more, right? But that is one of the biggest fallacies in life itself. Because if we have that mindset where when this happens, I'm going to do this, we're not currently in the thought that it is ours, right? We're focused on the future and we're not focused on the present. The way to change that is to assume the feeling of that goal that we want right now. And maybe it's not going to come today. Maybe it's not going to come tomorrow. Maybe it's not going to come next week, right? Sometimes it takes more time. Like for me, I've been going for a funded trading account for the last 10 months, give or take. And I haven't gotten there yet. And it's not that I haven't tried. I tried once and I failed. But that was my first lesson in the whole the whole journey, right? It was something that I had to do in order to get to where I want to be, right? A lot of people would look at failure and see, oh, this wasn't meant for me. I failed because this is not my path. But the way I look at it is, no, I failed just to know exactly how not to do it, so that in the future, the next time I try, I'll know exactly what I did wrong and then not do that the next time. And it's so important for us to know those things, because failure is not always a sign to stop. Most of the time, it's not a sign to stop, because what a lot of the highest earners in the country in any field say is that your biggest challenge comes before your biggest blessing. Okay. Every time, every single time. And it's very, very key for us to understand that failure is not a sign. Failure is, or maybe it is a sign. It's not a sign for us to stop. It's a sign for us to alter our strategy so that we can then find a new way that could potentially get us to succeed in that venture that we're looking to go towards. Okay. So, what we're going to talk about today is how we can develop our daily routines, our mindset, and reflect on our past, especially this past year. We're going to take that time and unpack it and figure out what went wrong, what went well, and then that is going to be the juice, the information, the the good stuff that's going to help us learn for our future year, for 2023, what can be done, what can be changed, and what should not happen again. Okay, so we're going to dive into this. I think there are, let's see, there are five steps to having an amazing year in 2023. Okay, 5 steps to changing 2022 and having an amazing 2023. Okay, so we're going to go right into it. Our step one, which is what the topic of this call is actually called, is the 0 dark 30 strategy. Okay, I want you to write that down. 0 dark 30. And yes, Tiana, we are going to go deep right now. It's going to be all in the juice of every little thing that we can do, what we can change, and what we can develop on. So, step one is the 0 dark 30 strategy. And if you guys don't know what 0 dark 30 is, 0 dark 30 is a strategy that was created in the military. And basically what it is anybody who is getting into anybody that has changed, or anybody that was going to war, right? Anybody that could have been going to Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Korea, or Vietnam, anybody that was going into war, right? The military has this strategy where the 30 days leading into war, they buckle down, all right? They develop the habits of what these soldiers will need once they get into their war zone. Okay, and what that is they put them through a 30-day vigorous training where they are forced to wake up early, do crazy workouts, do training exercises where they're basically mapping out various possibilities in terms of 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 um, of invasion or attacks from the enemy, right? There's so many ways that they could be attacked and potentially murdered or killed in action. And so they map out every possibility that could happen, and then they buckle down and they train their officers, they train their privates, they train their lieutenants, they train every soldier on these new techniques that they're going to have to utilize once they get over into the war setting. Okay, so what we're going to use is another aspect. It's going to be very similar to theirs in terms of a 30-day buckle down, right? But it's going to be very different. Obviously, we're not going to go through shooting training and survival techniques, stuff like that. But it all boils down to that 0 dark 30 of a 30-day buckle down where we utilize what information has been given to us, aka the information that was given to me, and then I'm going to give to you guys, and utilize that information, act on it, and then develop it into our daily routines. Okay, so the first most important thing, and I've said this before, maybe not in this series of mindset calls, but I was leading calls last year, and I'm pretty sure every single day I mentioned the morning routine. Okay, the morning routine is the start of everything. And that's the start of everything when it comes to 0 dark 30 in military practice, right? Because they all wake up right at 6 a.m. and they get going. Maybe it's 5 a.m., maybe it's 6 a.m. Who knows, right? I'm not in the military, so I'm not going to make assumptions. But the important thing is that we focus on our morning routine. And the most important part, the biggest fallacy that people think is that they need to start off crazy and do everything. Okay. And that's what I thought in the beginning. And that honestly ended up hindering my growth, because if you start something that's too much, right, the first day, it's probably okay. Second day, you're probably good with it. Third day, you start to feel like it's too much. And then the fourth, fifth, sixth day, you look at this morning routine that you haven't done ever before. You set yourself up to have to do 2 hours of a morning routine in the morning. And by the fourth, fifth day, you don't want to do it because you look at it like it's this whole 2-hour thing that you're not used to, that you have to do, right? The thing with new habits is that we don't want to look at them like something we have to do. We want to look at it like something we want to do. It's so important for us to know that, because developing new habits is the hardest thing that you could possibly do. Maybe not the hardest thing. The hardest thing is probably breaking old habits, but it kind of go hand in hand, because when you're breaking old habits, bad habits, those habits can't just be dissolved. Okay. They need to be replaced with something more productive, because there's always going to be that trigger that starts the bad habit. Like, let's say I'm a heavy drinker, right? I end up I'm trading well, and then I fail and I lose $1,000, right? That trigger of losing could turn me to alcohol, right? But if I were to change the trigger, or not change the trigger, change the cue from the trigger, or change the reaction from the trigger, I could look at, maybe I lose my trades, and then instead of drinking, I go straight to running, right? And so it's not so much trying to dissolve the old habit, but that old habit needs to be replaced with something else. And that's all about the morning routine, right? Because most people, they wake up, they check their phone, they check their notifications, maybe they check Tinder, maybe they check their messages, maybe they have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a partner, whoever, that they were arguing with the night before. And so they realize that they fell asleep, they wake up all stressed, and then they check their phone to check their conversation. And then the start of your day is spent looking at stressful messages that will then turn you into that fight or flight state of mind. And then you have no relaxation in your morning. That is like the worst thing that you could possibly do. The worst thing. And I used to do it. I had a girlfriend. It didn't go well. Most mornings it was an argument, or some mornings it was an argument, and some mornings it was, an argument the night before, and then the morning after it was just this whole thing that I had to deal with, and then my whole day gets shot, And sometimes it's not an argument. Sometimes it's just your power bills, right? Maybe you're waiting for your check to clear, and it wasn't cleared last night. So the first thing you do is check your phone to see if it cleared. The check isn't cleared yet, and then you're stressed again. And then that whole stress just carries throughout the entire day, because it is a scientific fact that the first 20 minutes of your day, whatever you think about, whatever you focus on, those first 20 minutes are going to build up what you focus on for the rest of the day. So, and the best way to prove that is if you've ever woken up in the morning and you heard a song immediately, or the first thought that you had was lyrics to the songs that you listened to yesterday, right? Then those lyrics, that verse or the chorus or whatever part of the song that you remember, that's going to be stuck in your head the entire day. Anytime you have a free moment, a free thought, that thought is going to go straight back to those lyrics. And I know that's happened to everybody, everyone. Whether it's the lyrics of a song, a conversation you had yesterday, the first text that you saw that morning, that emotion, that thought, that feeling, that direction of focus is all going to be going back to that moment, especially since it was that first 20 minutes of the day. And the best thing that I can tell you to do is the best thing that I changed when it came to starting my Zero Dark 30. I did it like 2 months ago or so. So I'm about 60 to 90 days in, which is just, it feels so amazing. Absolutely. It's absolutely amazing. But what I did to start my mornings would be, I have an alarm set. I set the alarm. I wake up. The alarm goes off. I simply press the alarm, and then I leave my phone in my bedroom while I leave and go do my morning routine. Okay. And I'm going to give you guys a little information about my morning routine, but it's not like, what I'm telling you about my morning routine is not to make you feel bad. It's not about competition. I don't want you to do what I'm doing. I really don't. I want you to look at what I'm doing and understand that I have been developing this morning routine for about a year. I've been consistent some days. I've been inconsistent some days. I'm not perfect. I'm really not. This past week was a struggle. Some days we're on, some days we're off. Okay. So I'm not somebody that you need to feel like you need to compete with. And neither is anybody else on this call. All I want you to do is compete with who you were yesterday. So for me, the reason my morning routine is developed the way that it is because that I spent the last year honing in on what works for me. Okay. And so if you don't have a morning routine, or even if you do, and you want to add something else to that morning routine, I want you to think about the 2-minute rule for starting new habits. And if you have a pen, if you have a paper, write this down. Okay. There is a 2-minute rule for starting any new habits. Okay. Because when you start new habits, it's not so much about getting the most done on that first day. It really has nothing to do with getting a lot done or getting anything done, really. It's about showing up. Like the first day, the first week, the first 2 weeks, it's all about showing up for yourself. It's about developing the habit, right? Because when you start something new, we really don't focus on the results at all. It's really, we're focused on, all right, sorry, I'm going to remove this person. Hide user on this channel. I don't think anybody wants some free sex. No, just kidding. Sorry, that's funny. But yes, so the best thing we could do is start off any habit, anything, with a 2-minute rule. Okay, we really want to start the habit and continue the habit. Okay, because when I started running in the morning, and I've said this on a few calls before, right, where I wanted to start running in the morning again. And sorry, give me guys 1 second. I need to fix this toilet that keeps running. I think it's loud. I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. They are, man. That's crazy. It's honestly I feel blessed to have somebody like that hopping on my calls, which means that we have random people hopping on, which is amazing. I love it. So I look at it that way, like, yes, she's spamming my calls, but it's honestly really nice to have that. I love it. So we're gonna focus on 0 dark 30, and I really apologize for that. I got an old timey toilet that just loves to run, and I don't want to waste water, right? I like to think of myself as a person that is favorable to the environment, so we don't want to run water for no reason. But yes, we want to focus on a new habit, right? So for me, my routine is changing every day. Some days I run, some days I don't run. But on a good day, my morning routine consists of running around the block. That's it. That's it. And that's literally what I've been doing for the last 2 3 weeks, is literally just running around the block. Some days are around 2 blocks, some days around 3 blocks, some days around 4 blocks, some days a mile, right? But the important thing is that I showed up for myself and started running. Okay, so if you're working on health, if you really want to lose weight, or you want to really start to become a healthier version of yourself, I would suggest something like that. Whether it's working out, whether it's running, whether it's literally just waking up and doing a push-up, right? Like the first thing when I started working out about a year ago, I would literally just wake up and do a 2-minute plank. That's the only thing that I would do. And it was such a struggle because I hadn't worked out in years, or like, maybe a year, right? So it was really important for me to just show up and do it. Okay. And that's really what I want you guys to push yourselves to do, is just to show up for yourself. So if you're working on health and you want to lose weight, maybe wake up and do some push-ups, maybe work up and do some sit-ups, but it's all about setting that habit and showing up for yourself. Okay. So for me, it was literally just running around the block and doing 100 jumping jacks. Okay. So, and everything's going to be different for every single person, right? I want you guys to set yourself up for success. Okay. So I don't want you to, mark down my habits and mark down my morning routine and then try to match it. Okay. And if you've been doing a morning routine, I would love for you to match it. I would love for you to continue to do what I do, because I know that it works, but do what works for you. Okay. So the 0 dark 30 of being consistent on a morning routine is all about really just pushing ourselves into developing new habits. Okay. So what I do is I wake up and I do a run around the block. Okay. And then after that, I get home, I feed my dog, and then I make a cup of coffee. And then I like to read for, it depends when I wake up, right? But I like to read for at least an hour, 2 hours on a good day, 3 hours on like the best day ever. And that really affects my trading when I focus on reading something that is going to shift my mindset into something positive, shift my mindset into growth and learning things that can develop my consciousness, develop my mindset, develop my trading, my life, my personal development, right? So it's really, really key for me to spend that time reading. Some people like to listen to audio. Some people like to listen to audio books. Whatever works for you is great, but I will suggest that reading a book is probably the best way for you to do it. Okay, especially if it's a paper book. Kindles are great because I know you can still highlight on Kindles. But for me, the best thing when it comes to reading books is that I read the book, I find a line that I really enjoy, something that speaks to me, something that sticks out, and then I highlight it. Okay, so I read the book all the way through, highlight all these notes, all these quotations, all these statements that I really love, and then I read the whole book, and then I take that book, and I write down everything that I highlighted into a book of quotes. And that's really just something like this, really cheap 99-cent book that I just write down all my quotes in. And why I say reading a physical book is really important is because if you're accessing a lot of your senses, okay? So you're accessing the sense of touch because you're feeling the pages, okay? You're accessing your sense of vision because you're looking at the pages, and then you're also accessing your sense of, I mean, you could access your sense of hearing if you speak out loud. Sometimes if I'm having off days where I can't focus, I'll read the book out loud, and then I'm not only just looking, I'm not only feeling, but I'm also hearing. Okay, so if you have a hard time with concentration, or excuse me, or reading comprehension. Like for me, I have ADHD. Okay, so for me, when I read books, it takes a couple more times. It takes a little bit more than just one time reading the book, but it really helps when I use these strategies of reading. Using my finger to kind of go past the line, like the lines where I'm reading. So then you're truly focused in on every word that you're reading, and then you also highlight, and then those statements that you highlight, I like to focus on them. Okay, so if I find something that really intrigues me, I'll look at it, I'll highlight it, and then I'll read it a few more times. And then I'll generate thought behind that statement, and actually developing uh, creative thought off of a book allows you to remember it more clearly as well, because you're not just reading, you're not just feeling, you're not just listening, you're also thinking about what has been said, and you're trying to understand it in a specific way, right? So let me grab my book real quick because I'll talk about something specifically. So, I read this a little bit earlier where it says, even when you know you should start small, it's easy to start too big. When you dream about making a change, excitement inevitably takes over and you end up trying too much too soon. The most effective way I know to counteract this tendency is to use the 2-minute rule, which states when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes. Right? So then I highlighted when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes. So I don't only just read that, I also highlight it, and then I also think about what has been said. Okay, so why would they say starting a new habit it should take less than 2 minutes? I think about that and I'm like, oh, well, a lot of the times when I start to do a new habit like running, working out, I'll try to run for 30 minutes. Yes, I can do it that one day, but it's going to be much more difficult to do something like that every single day, right? So if I start a new habit, I run 30 minutes the first day, and then the second day, my knees are sore because they're not used to running like that. My joints are getting sore simply because they don't have muscles around the tendons that protect those muscles because they haven't been worked recently. Okay. So then I try to run the second day, and then the whole time my knees are hurt, and that doesn't help anybody, right? Because at that point, I'm like, I'm not a runner. Like, obviously, my legs don't want to run. I'm getting injured so quickly, right? You start to make these ridiculous excuses simply because you try to do too much too soon. Okay, so it's important, especially when we're reading, to focus on finding something that speaks to you, and then generate thought around that statement. And that's really helpful, especially when you're only reading for 2 minutes out of the morning, because if you haven't developed the skill, you haven't developed the habit of reading every day, starting out with just reading 2 minutes, it'll give you the time to really focus on that 2 minutes of reading, because in 2 minutes I could probably read like 3 to 5 pages, but it'll also give me more time to focus on those 2 to 5 pages that I've been reading. Okay, so really just starting out with 2 minutes in every skill is really, really helpful. And it's something that I did myself. Like when I started, I would wake up, I would run around the block. I would feed my dog, make a coffee, and then I would read, 5 pages. Okay. I would read 5 pages, and then I would meditate for 5 minutes, and then I would journal down um, my 5 goals. And that's kind of how I started, focusing on the goals. And then once I started to develop that habit, then I started to add more things, right? So I ran around the block. Eventually I started running like 5 miles a morning. I'm not at that point right now because I took a long break, but it's something that compounded into that development where I was literally running like 3 miles daily consistently. And then some days would be five, some days would be two, whatever. But it was all about starting that habit. And then some mornings, once I started that habit, I knew I'd be running every morning. So some mornings I ran more, some mornings I ran less, right? And then that's how you start to really compound and see growth in your habits, because you need at least 7 days on any habit in order to develop the drive to continue to do it, especially after the motivation is gone. And that's what we call discipline. Okay. That's what we call discipline, that we're able to develop a habit, right? And then there's always going to be days where we have no motivation, where we're dug in the dirt, we're depressed, we're sad, we're just feeling lazy, right? But developing those habits is going to trigger your mind, right? Because let's say you wake up every day at 5 a.m. and then you go for a run. That eighth day that you wake up at 5 a.m. and you decide not to go for a run, it's going to feel weird. It's going to feel off. It's going to feel wrong. Okay. And that's the best place to be in, because that's when you know that the habit has been developed. But it's also very important to know that that is the day, the most important day that you continue that habit. The day where you feel like you shouldn't do it, or that you can't do it, or that you don't want to do it, is the exact day that you should do it. Because a lot of the times, that is the day where your quantum leap is about to go. Like that one day where you decide not to run could be the day where you go for your run, you start it, and then you realize you have all this crazy energy because you listen to the right side of your mind instead of the wrong side of your mind. And then you're able to run 5 miles. And it's like the most unbelievable thing in the entire world. Like when you realize that listening to your future self as opposed to your past self, that is comes with baggage, comes with bad habits, comes with um, lack of growth, comes with laziness. Once you start to listen to that future self, that current self that you're trying to rewrite all those bad habits, it changes everything. And it's so amazing. Yeah, the biggest blessings come on those days. It's so true, Ty. So true. Like the most profits that I've had are on those days where I'm like, I don't really want to wake up early and do my morning routine, but I do want to trade. So I should do my morning routine. Because for me, I know that my probability of victory, my probability of profits comes from the days where I do my full morning routine. And that's why morning routine is so important, because I will literally spend like and it's funny because the past couple weeks I've been testing this strategy. I've been trading on days where I didn't do my morning routine, and 50% of the time I lose. 50% of the time I go down $1,000, or I go down $2,000, or I just stop, or I just let go of all of my my trading plan, and I just blow the account, right? And it's something that I've been teaching myself hard lessons the past couple weeks, because I don't want them to come later once I have the funded account. Okay. So I've spent days where I decided to wake up, take a signal, or use Oracle and find that US 30 said that it was going to be bearish aggressive this hour, and then I lay in my bed and I place trades. You know, has anybody done this? Where you lay in your bed, you see a signal, you place a trade, and then you lose, or you place a trade and then you win, and then you just assume that that strategy works. So you win a little bit this day, but then you lose a lot the next day because that actually wasn't a sound strategy. And that's so important for me personally, because I know that I need to do my morning routine in order to be profitable. I need to get my mind right, because if I don't get my mind right, I focus on profits as opposed to risk management. And that is a really important thing when you're approaching trading, especially in the beginning, is that risk management is more important than profits. Not losing is more important than winning, to me personally, because it's so important, and the consistency is so key. So that 30, so what I will challenge you guys to do is the first 30 days, starting December 1st, is develop a morning routine. Start out waking up, reading 1 page, meditating 1 minute, journaling 1 goal, and that's it. Okay, 2 minutes on any single habit that you want to develop. Okay, 2 minutes of journaling, 2 minutes of meditating, 2 minutes of reading. That's it. 2 minutes of running if you decide that health is very important to you as well. Okay, and it's that simple. You could get your morning routine done in 10 minutes. 10 minutes if you just focus on getting something done. It's not about getting a lot done. Right now, it's not about growth. Okay, especially if you're starting, you don't want to focus on the growth. You want to focus on the habit. Okay, so what I want you guys to do is use this strategy of 0 dark 30 starting December 1st. And if you want to start tomorrow, kudos to you. I'm starting tomorrow. I started this morning. I started 2 months ago. Okay, so understand that you need to push yourself. Okay, you just need to show up. All right, and that's all you really need to do is show up, start a morning routine, and understand that you need to work from within. Okay, when we're doing our morning routines, we need to put our phones down. We need to forget about social media, forget about anybody that texted us last night. Like, maybe somebody has this huge favor they need to do that you need to do for them at 12 noon today. Okay, but you should not be responding to that person until after you do your morning routine, especially when you're starting out. What's 10 minutes, right? They're already thinking you're asleep already, so it's not really important for you to answer that text right now. Okay, and it's really, really kind of detrimental to your day. Okay, because those first 20 minutes, those first 10 minutes, if you're just starting out, that you need to focus on yourself, can catapult your day to extreme focus, extreme concentration, right? Those days where I put my phone down and I forget about it and I do my morning routine, I'm able to concentrate on everything else throughout the day, everything else. And it's so, so helpful. It's the biggest game changer I could possibly give you. So make sure you do those 0 dark 30. And if you're in our group chat on Discord, what I want us to do is to just post a picture every morning of our morning routine. Maybe it's just a picture of us with our journal open. Maybe it's just us with whatever book that we're reading. Maybe it's us doing a little workout in the morning, right? But I really want to challenge us as a team to post one picture of us doing our morning routine every day in the month of December, because you can really destroy your momentum in January if you forget about the progress that you can make in December. Okay, even just taking a week off in December, it can change everything for you. Last December, I took 2 weeks off, and then I took a month off in January, and then I took 2 weeks off in February, and then it took me 6 weeks to get back into the flow state so that I could trade well. And then other crap happened in my life, where I lost my place of living and then my trading went down again simply because my mindset was about half of what it could have been. Okay. So it can really change everything for you. Our morning routine is not there to help us on our good days, it's there to help us on our bad days. So because I ended up losing my property of living in about March, and my mindset wasn't at 100%, it went all the way back down to zero. Like it was I cried a couple days. I was like, this is terrible. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I went so far, I did so well, and then life hit me and I couldn't handle it because my mindset wasn't on point. And it changed everything. Everything. So I know I really focused on 0 dark 30 a lot in this call. It's kind of been the entire hour, but we're going to go quickly through the other 5 steps because it's kind of just how you can apply what I've said in the morning routine in the first step. So we'll just go through it and then we'll be good. All right. Does that sound good? All right. Cool. So step 1, 0 dark 30 morning routine every day for 30 days. Yes, currency will meet your frequency. Exactly. It's crazy. It's crazy how much that works. When you start to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, like when I started talking about 1K days, 1K days, 1K days, 1K days, 1K days, and I would literally spend half my day just saying, I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm getting 1K days. I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm getting 1K days. I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm getting 1K days. I started getting 1K days, here after another, here after another, here after another, here after another. It was crazy. It was insane. Like literally, I got a full week of four 1K days, and I didn't lose anything. Maybe I lost like $600. Like as soon as I assumed that feeling, it changed everything. So focus on something that you believe you can get, and then your currency will match your frequency. So that's step number 1. Step number 2 is I want you to write a congratulations letter for the year of 2022. And that is really, really helpful because I know a lot of us, especially me, I didn't achieve the things that I wanted to this year. I thought I would be further. I thought I would have a fully funded account. I thought I would be making a lot of money, have my own car. I thought I would have all of these things, right? But without writing a congratulations letter from 2022, it's easy for me to focus on those bad things in my life. Right? It's really easy for me to then focus my attention on the failures as opposed to the victories. But writing things down changes everything. You learn and you remember 75% more when you write down what you're trying to remember as opposed to not doing that. So if we write down a congratulations letter to ourselves focusing on the things that we did well this year, like for me, I did my morning routine pretty consistently the whole year. I focused on one pair for the entire year, like I said I would. I focused on um, developing my health and eating organic food, and I've been eating organic food ever since. I focused on not doing drugs, and I'm still not doing drugs, and it feels so amazing. It's just like find those few things that you congratulate yourself for, and write a letter to yourself. Okay. Then step 3 is going to be identify the areas where you were weak, where you made mistakes, where you might have not grown where you wanted to, as far as you wanted to, and just tighten those bolts. You know, every time, every time you're working with a machine, you got to make sure that everything is tightened, everything is squeaky clean. You got enough grease on the belts. You got enough oil in the tank. You got enough gas to get you going, right? And this is what this is all about. We can't go into 2023 without first editing what was wrong in 2022 because we could easily break down. We could easily just fall back into those habits that didn't work in 2022 and then continue to do the same thing, and then you become an insane person because you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. So it's really important for us to then also congratulate ourselves first on the things we did well, right? Getting that mindset of focus, because that putting us in a higher vibration thought process can then look at our weaknesses, on our failures and the things that didn't go right, and look at them as a way to find a solution, as opposed to looking at them to feel bad about ourselves, right? Because if we first congratulate ourselves and feel good about what we're doing, we're in a high vibration, and the things that didn't go well don't feel as important, right? They don't feel, not that they don't feel as important, but that they don't feel like there's something that we can break down, or that can break us down, because we have controlled our mindset, controlled our thought process in the good. Then we can focus on the good while we look at the bad and be like, yes, this went wrong. Yes, I didn't get my fully funded trading account, but my trading is so much better than it was. So I'm still going forward. I might not be exactly where I want to be, but I was here and now I'm here. And my goal is just sitting right up here. So if I continue to be consistent, I'll bust through it, and then the goal is mine, right? It's amazing. It's so good to have those things. So make sure we don't only focus on congratulating ourselves, but we find the few things that hindered our growth, that took us from achieving the goals that we want to achieve, and finds, and that, oh, just even just putting attention on the problem, we're able to look at it at a way to find solutions. Okay, especially if we're high vibration, we're feeling good, we're focusing on the things that we were good at, then we think about the things that we were bad at, and we can find solutions to get us back up to over here, you know. And yes, we're all getting those higher highs. I know we're all, we were here last year, maybe we went up to here, and then we came back to here, and then we went up to here, and then we came back down to here to enter, because we stopped our routines. But then we started to build our routines, and because we had that high up here before, that market structure, that development of habits built up to here, and we came back to entry, right? So now you've seen the markets, you've seen them, they can bust all the way through, as long as we focus and we continue to grow and we continue to do exactly what we know works. Okay, so identify the areas where you're weak, strengthen them. Where do you lack? Are you are you on social media too much? Are you finding that you're more focused in the morning than at night, and maybe nighttime is where you need to refocus yourself? And that's something that I need to do, where nighttime is a lot of times like Netflix. Like I like to watch Netflix, or I like to just cook food and do this and do that. But the important thing is that I understand that Netflix doesn't really help me. But if I really enjoy cooking at night, that also gets the creative juices flowing, right? And that keeps me in that high vibration, because it makes me feel good and accomplished, as opposed to Netflix making me feel good and then also making me feel bad because I didn't accomplish anything, right? So it's about finding those habits that help, that you enjoy doing, but then also push you forward, right? So, are we taking enough classes on WoW? Are we hopping on enough calls with the team? Are we working out at least a few times a week? Are we active in our chats and posting chart work for our educator Ty and for ourselves? Are we posting our profits and our fails? Are we posting the days where we didn't actually do too well in trading? Because those are the days where we actually need help, right? I know it's not easy to post losses. A lot of the times I don't do it myself, but it really, really changes everything, even just posting the picture, because then everybody else is thinking about it. Even like when I posted my fails, like Kenneth messaged me on the side and just gave me a little bit of advice, and maybe that's all you need, is just having somebody else thinking about you, helping you, preparing you for maybe something that went wrong for them that is relatable with you. Maybe they're just sending good vibes out to you, and that could be the biggest change ever, where they're just thinking about you, they're praying for you. It's like, I hope that Kenneth does so much better with trading this week, or Kenneth thinking about me. Like, I hope Pat finds his weaknesses and then develops off of them. Even just a little vibration that posts out to you, it can change everything. And it's amazing. Don't put anything off. Okay, don't write off anything that I say. Okay, I don't want you to just go ahead and do everything I say, because that's not, I'm not a guru. I'm not, this $1 million guy that's helping people, right? I'm just a regular guy who has found some things that works for him. And I want you guys to test out those strategies. And if they work for you, great. If they don't work for you, give me shit for it. Tell me why it didn't work. And then we can have a constructive conversation about maybe altering what I do, because maybe you found something better through trying something that I told you to do. You didn't figure out that it worked. And then you tried something different and you found an even better solution, right? And that's really how we start to help each other and grow off each other, because some people give you advice, you try that advice, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But sometimes when it doesn't work, you find a better option. You find a better solution to what you're doing. And that's where the mastermind starts to develop, because maybe something worked for me that made me $1,000, but then you found something wrong with what I did to make $1,000 that made you $10,000, and then we're both making $10,000, right? Like, it's crazy. Like, it's so important. Like, don't take everything that I say with a blind eye. Look at it, develop it, unpack it, figure out what works, figure out what don't work, and then come back to me and we'll have a discussion, right? Because this is stuff that was taught to me and it works for me sometimes it doesn't. Most of the time it does. But if you find something better, I would love to hear about it. Okay? So that's going to be step number 3. Identify where you're weak and strengthen it through finding some sort of solution. Or if you find something that you're weak in that isn't really quite working for you, just come to me, come to Ty, come to anybody in the group, and we can all talk about what ways we can find a solution, and that's really what's so good about our mastermind. What's good about a tribe is that we are here to help each other, and it's so amazing. So we're going to go quickly through the next 2, and then we'll be done. Okay, so the step 4 is going to be set up a scheduled routine for every day. And this year I kind of failed on that. Like, I have a schedule, right, from the entire year, and most of these pages are empty. You can see that some are full, but some are empty. And that was a very, very big thing that I need to grow off of moving forward. Okay, so making a schedule every day is one of my weaknesses, and that's something that I'll write in my journal about this past year that I will develop on next year. But it's really helpful, because those first few months I was doing it like crazy, and I blocked out every 15 minutes. I blocked out every 10 minutes. Blocked out every 30 minutes. So, like, let's look back. So on March 30th, I woke up at 2:45, wake up plank. 3:15, I stretched, ran fast, sprinting, intervals with river. 3:50, I stretched and showered. 4:15, meditate. 4:20, 4 o'clock, meditate. 4:20, feed river. 4:45, read. 5:30 to 8, trade. 8, meditate. 8:10, relax for 10 minutes. And that's another thing, like that. And that's kind of what really got me through my schedules, was blocking out time for myself as well. Right? Because it's really hard to look at a whole day of activity, whole day of progressiveness, whole day of work without having a block for yourself. Okay, so that's what really got me to wake up at 2:45, was knowing that at 8:10 I could relax, and I could, maybe grab a cup of coffee, maybe just sit with my dog and cuddle, maybe just take a quick cat nap, or watch a little TV for a bit, right? Maybe it's go on a walk, or just huddle up in a blanket and sit and just think, right? But blocking those times out in your day when you're doing that daily schedule to find time in your day for yourself, it's that's where you're really going to grow. Okay, because then you block out the time that you're working, but then you make sure that you have time for yourself, which rejuvenates that energy and pushes you back into focus. Yes. See, scheduling in to drink water, because yeah, and I've had those days myself where it's like, you just grind, 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 grind. Maybe you're hopping on, you're doing your morning routine, and then you're hopping on mornings with Nano, and then you're running trading call. You're running a trading education call, and then a mindset call, and then you have meetings with prospective clients or customers. It's very hard or very easy to go throughout the whole day without eating. Like when I started this business, I would work until like 5 p.m. without eating anything. And then I get to the point where I get off my 4 o'clock call and I'm like, my like stomach hurts because I'm so empty of food. So if you do have a schedule like this where you're going crazy, you're going off, you're doing it, you're going crazy, like you're just killing it, right? Just make sure you block out time to eat, to maybe have an orange, to maybe have a little glass of water or an apple, or just, or stuff like that. Just make sure that you also block out time for yourself. Um, and then I'll do 8:20 to 10 wow classes, 10 to 11 book club. This is back when I was in Montana, so my times were 2 hours behind. But then 11 to 12 was back testing strategies and sequences. 12 to 12:45 was workout. 12:45 to 1 was protein shake and chill. So I did the exact same thing, where it's like I needed to remind myself to drink a protein shake, or else my muscles would just atrophy, or not atrophy, but my muscles would just be so sore the next day because I didn't give it the proper nutrients that it needed to continue to heal itself over the next day before I work out the following day. So I was the same thing with time, where it's like so important to have time for yourself that you need to block it out, you know. And so 1 to 2:30 was prospect, post content. 12:30 was, I think, some doctor's appointment I had. 4 to 5 was dog park. 5 to 6 was dinner and reflect on the day. 6 to 7 was write down what went well and what needs improvement. And then 7 to 8 was read and plan tomorrow. 8 p.m. was sleep. Okay, so I wrote down all of these things. I wanted to make sure that I planned the day. I wanted to make sure that I planned the next day, the night prior, so that I was, I didn't have, it didn't give me the opportunity to wake up the next morning and feel tired, and then make up excuses to feed into that tiredness so that I would go back to sleep, right? And it was really helpful. Sometimes the night before I would just literally just set the goal to wake up at a specific time, and then since the morning routine was so fluid at that point, it kind of just piggybacked into the right strategy that I wanted to get. But that was after months of developing that morning routine, right? So what I would say is starting out is just start out and make a schedule for the next day, right? Maybe you have work from 9 to 5. Maybe you wake up at 7, do your morning routine. Wake up at 7. Um, you know, Allow yourself 15 minutes to just, wake up and just feel gratitude. Maybe just pray. Maybe just think about all the amazing things in your life, right? Spend those 15 minutes feeling grateful. And then from 7:15 to 7:30, you do a few push-ups, you meditate for 5 minutes, and then you read for 5 minutes. And then from 7:30 to 7:40, you journal, and then 7:40 to 7:40 to 8 a.m. you listen to an audio, or you make a cup of coffee and listen to an audio. It's really just about starting those habits, but making that schedule the night before kind of puts you in the position um, to uh, to have accountability for yourself, because it's written down in your schedule. Then you have to do it. right? And that's the way to look at it. Okay. All right. So that's step number 4. And our last step is going to be intention. We want to have intention with every single thing that we do. Okay. We don't want to just be going through the motions, because that doesn't help anybody. Doesn't help you, doesn't help the team, it doesn't help your future self, your past self, your family. Doesn't help anybody. Okay. If you wake up and all you like your goal is to just get through the morning routine, to just get through it, you're gonna pick up your book, you're gonna be reading the words, but you're gonna be thinking about something else. You're gonna be thinking about, oh my god, I hate doing this. I don't want to be here. I want to sleep right now. So you're reading the words and you're focusing on all the things that you don't want to be doing, like while you're doing it, right? And I'm sure a lot of people have gone through that. I went through it myself. I still go through it some days, but it's really important to do everything that we do with intention. And that also piggybacks into the 2-minute rule. Okay. Because if you try to do too much, the first day is going to be great. You're going to get all of this work done. It's going to feel so good. Then the next morning, you're going to wake up and you're not going to want to do it. And then you end up sitting there with your book open for 30 minutes, literally not paying attention to anything. And then your alarm goes off, like, sick, I'm done reading. Screw this book, time to meditate. And then you meditate, and all you're doing is thinking about other things. You're not focused on within, you're not focused on being, you're not focused on the feeling, you're not focused on a goal and mantra or anything, right? And then you get out of meditation, you feel no different than you did before the meditation, right? So going through the motions is not helpful to anything. It's almost as if you didn't do it, okay? So make sure that you have intention with every single thing that you do, okay? And that's why it's important to keep things short, sweet, and to the point, especially when you're starting new habits, okay? Do 2 minutes of reading. Read one page. Meditate for 1 minute. Um, run up the street. Run one house over and then one house back. Maybe just walk around the block, right? Find something that you know that you can do and do it every day, and have intention while you're doing it. Understand that it helps you. You could look at a run in 2 ways. You could look at a run like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. I'm sore. This is terrible. I hate running. Or you could look at this run like, man, I'm a little sore from yesterday, but I know that running this lap today is going to develop my habits, develop my mind, develop my health. It is the starting point to losing 100 pounds. It's a starting point to losing 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 30 pounds. It's the starting point to being the better me, to being more focused. There's so many ways to look at the positives in the things that you're doing. But most of the time, 95% of the people are focusing on the negatives. They're focusing on the bad part. They're focusing on the fact that they don't want to run, that it's hard, that it's difficult, that it hurts you, right? But I look at pain, I look at working out, I look at all these things, like, yes, it hurts me, but I love that pain. I love that pain. And that is my perspective. A lot of people don't have that perspective, but the pain is good to me. It's good pain. There's bad pain where you cut your arm, there's bad pain where you break your arm, there's bad pain where somebody passes away, right? But there's good pain where your muscles are sore because you worked your freaking ass off, right? There's days there's pain where you pushed yourself hard, and maybe you can't even walk the next day. You're walking like a penguin, right? Because you can't bend your legs. There's days like that. But you can look at it like, oh man, I'm so sore, I'm never gonna run again. Or like, oh man, I'm so sore. I worked my butt off yesterday, and I know that my muscles are repairing and doing well and growing. Okay. So make sure that you have intention with everything. Make sure you have intention with every action, every decision, every thought. What you eat, what you buy, what you drink, what you read, and what you think about. Okay. And one thing that I would say is, if you're looking for intention with everything, listen to Your Wish is Your Command by Kevin Trudeau. Which is your man to bail? And this guy is a genius. He actually went to jail for 10 years for giving people information that the elites in the world and the country didn't want him to give. They told the universe, or they told the world, they told the court that he was lying, that everything that he said was bullshit, and he ended up going to jail for 10 minutes. Or not 10 minutes. Not 10 minutes, 10 years. 10 years for providing information that um, others believe that the people shouldn't have. And that's all in the work that Your Wish is Your Command. And Your Wish is Your Command by Kevin Trudeau is actually an audio series. It's on YouTube. It's about 15 episodes. And so it's more of just it was like a convention that he had in the Alps of Switzerland. And people paid like 10 grand to go see it. And there's about 14 tapes. The 15th tape is just an intro to the call. I guess that's the first tape. But yeah, there's 15 versions, or the 15 tapes. I'm actually in the process of recording them all and putting them on my voice memos on my app or on my phone. Maybe I'll burn them into discs at some point. But I'm working on making sure that we have all 15 without having to worry with YouTube cutting them out or Spotify deleting them, because that seems to happen like every other week, So that's what we got. I'm going to quickly go over the 5 steps and then we'll be gone. Okay. So the first step is 0 dark 30 days, starting the morning routine or developing your morning routine. 2 minutes in each task, and that's it. Best way to start is start small and do it consistently. Don't go crazy. Don't do too much at one time so that you hinder your drive to do it more days. Start small, do something you can do, that you believe that you can do, and then continue that for 7 days straight, and then for 13 more. No, 23 more. Sorry, 30 days. We're going to do that. And what I would love if you guys would do is post a picture of you doing your morning routine every morning for the next 30 days. Okay, start tomorrow, start December 1st, whatever you want to do. Whatever makes your stars aligned is perfect. Okay, so 0 dark 30 is step 1. Step 2 is write a congratulations letter to yourself for the month of, you could do it for the month of November, or you could just do it for the year of 2022. Whichever one works, whichever one makes you feel better, whichever one where you're able to learn most about yourself. Okay. Step 3 is identify the areas where you are weak and strengthen them. Okay. Find the areas where you are weak and strengthen them. Step 4 is set up a schedule routine for every day. Okay. And the best way to do that is to either schedule it on Sunday for the week or schedule it the night before for every single day. I like the night before because with my ADHD, some days I like to, if I plan till Saturday, by the time Thursday or Friday comes along, I'm gonna have different vibes and I'm gonna want to do different things, right? So I really like to plan the night before. I find that I'm able to be more impeccable with my word, because I actually do the things the night before, because some things can come up. Maybe I have a party with my nephews that I didn't know about. Maybe I have a birthday that I forgot about, or a meeting with somebody. There are things that can pop up. So I really like to do the night before. And then step number 5 is going to be have intention with everything. Okay, intention with everything that you do. Think about it before. Okay, if I have this cup of coffee right here, I'm going to think about whether or not I want to drink it. Okay, I'm going to look at it, be like, okay, this can give me more energy. It'll focus me throughout the day. So I'll have it. But if it was something like smoking weed, I'd probably look at it and be like, well, there's a potential that if I smoke this today, or I smoke this right now, I'll be lazy the rest of the day. So I won't do it. Okay. So ask yourself, make sure you have intention with everything you're doing. Be conscious. Don't let your unconscious thought patterns run your life. Okay. Have conscious thought and really push yourself. Okay. So that's all I have for today. The 5 steps for creating a better you. And I really hope that you guys got value in this call. Sorry it went a little bit over. I just felt like it was something that I had to do. Okay. So I really hope you guys got value. Um, I'm excited. I'm blessed. I love these calls. I love that you guys hop on these calls. And I'm so happy and grateful now that we have hundreds and hundreds of people on these calls. And you guys are going to be the first of many. All right. So stay blessed. I hope that you guys have an amazing day. And we'll talk soon. Okay. Come back next week for another episode of Morning Master Mindset Mastery Series. Okay. Thank you, guys. Take it easy. Love you too, guys. You guys are the best.